when I was in Moscow, I went to an international conference on religious liberty, which in itself is very significant, I think, that in Russia, they're having a conference on religious liberty. And they held it, I think, probably purposely, to be ironic and maybe a bit pointed. They held it in the former building that was for the Communist Youth Brigade, where people were taught, atheistic communism. And now in Russia, we have religious liberty. But of course, as you might realize, religious liberty means a lot of different things. And they probably didn't realize what they were getting into when they invited me to speak to them on that subject. Because for 2 days, I had to endure all this barfy stuff about how, religion is the realm of the mysterious, and we're all doing our best, and we're all very sincere, and we're all, really brothers under the skin, and we really love each other, and we respect each other. And poor Dr. Bahnsen stood up and said, well, no, as a matter of fact, we don't all respect each other, and we aren't all brothers. Okay. Basically, the argument for religious liberty that I was hearing from Muslims and Hindus and Roman Catholics and Lutherans and Seventh-day Adventists and Russian Orthodox and Old Believers and so forth, the argument I was hearing is known as relativism. No one knows for sure, and so you create your own reality. You've got to live with your own understanding of God. You've got to make your way in this world, and if your view of God helps you feel better, then that's true for you. But then there are other traditions which should be equally respected in Russia, now that we're opening the door to religion. That's what they are arguing. Other traditions that have to be respected as well. Okay, so when I spoke, I'm not going to give you that whole lecture. Let me boil it down. I basically said religious liberty cannot be founded on relativism. See, they thought relativism was just another way of talking about religious liberty. Everybody has a right to their own opinion. I said, if you believe that everyone creates their own reality, then Hitler creates his own reality too. And Hitler, therefore, in terms of his reality, has the right to kill the Jews, because that's the reality he's created. And so here you have a suppression of religious liberty, in fact, genocide, and relativism condones it, because after all, everybody creates their own reality. And then I went through an ugly laundry list of all of the persecution each of the groups in the audience, including Protestants, American Protestants, were guilty of in terms of religious liberty. I said, every one of us is guilty, if we're a relativist, of persecuting other people and allowing for it and holding to views that would allow for that. When someone tells you, you create your own reality and everybody's right, the answer is, if everybody's right, then clearly nobody's wrong, including the Idi Amins of the world, the Hitlers, the David Koreshes, and all the rest. Relativism kills itself. It isn't sufficient for somebody to say, well, you believe that, but I believe something else, and reality just kind of twist and turn to fit everybody. It's like reality becomes a smorgasbord. You go into the smorgasbord, maybe you'll choose the eggplant. I sure wouldn't. But I'll choose the fried chicken, and you don't particularly want fried chicken. It's like reality will be whatever you want. You have the eggplant approach to reality, you have the chicken approach to reality. Pick whatever you want. It's not like that. And certainly God is not like that. God is not a smorgasbord. God doesn't say, well, just please let me into your life. I'll be whatever you want me to be. And that's what I call the Mr. Potato Head approach to theology. Some people will put Mr. Potato Head together with eyes here and ears over here and all the rest. Other people say, no, God's not like that. He's really like this. And it was not going to be adequate to say, well, God is whatever you want him to be. What an insult! If God is whatever you want him to be, he is not God. Or she is not God. It is not God. The relative says, well, it's true for you, it's not true for me. True for you is one of the most asinine statements in the English language. Truth is not person relative. Let's go back to the doctor's office. Dr. Bahnsen is told by this doctor, he's supposed to know, he has the blood work, he has the lab tests and so forth. He says, Dr. Bahnsen, you've got diabetes. I say, well, that's true for you. It's not true for me. No. The relativist says nobody can know anything for sure. And this is what you're going to get. I guarantee you, if you go to a secular school and the teacher likes you, and interestingly enough, in many cases, teachers do like Christians, even though they're not Christians. You know why? Because the Christian students are the few students that will challenge them and seem to be alert. At least they'll talk intelligently. And I'm not saying that as gratuitous, flattery to you guys because you're Christians. I mean that. I've seen that over and over again. Teachers will say, please come around and talk about this more. At least you're thinking. These other kids, just want to party or just want to get through the class, whatever. But if the teacher talks to you after class, wants to hear more, and then wants to, it's always this condescending, let me help you out of your Sunday school superstition and ignorance, The university is going to really mature you. This is going to be the age of enlightenment for you, let me tell you. Well, after you hold to your faith and you give answers to the objections and so forth, you'll often have the teacher tell you, and then you have roommates and others who will say this in a less sophisticated way. The teacher will say, well, you have to understand that, truth is relative. And you're very committed to this, but in the university, you're going to learn there are other truths. There are other universes to explore. Oh, barf. Other universes? I'd like to live in the one where I find myself, thank you. I want to deal with this one. When someone tells you that truth is relative, that there is no absolute truth, the question you're going to have is that absolutely true? Let me say that again because some of you started to nod off. Now, I'm going to begin the sentence, and when I get to the end, I want to see all of you still looking up here, okay? When someone says there is no absolute truth, you're going to say, is that absolutely true? Now we're on the horns of a dilemma, as logicians put it. Because if the teacher says, nope, even that's not absolutely true, you say, well, then fine. Then I'm free to believe otherwise, and there is absolute truth. But the teacher says, oh, well, I don't want to do that, so yeah, it's absolutely true. You say, well, then you're wrong that there is no absolute truth because it's absolutely true that there is no absolute truth. And by the way, if it's absolutely true that there is no absolute truth, you've contradicted yourself, and so maybe you ought to go back and get some more education before you teach this class. Don't say that. Relativism is just another form of being arbitrary. Educated people know better than to be arbitrary. There are not many educated people in our culture today. Most college graduates are not educated people. I do not mean that to be just a slur and a slam against college graduates, but it's true, literally, descriptively true. People can get a piece of paper from college and not know how to think, not know how to research, not how to put together one paragraph of a decent argument. And the reason, well, it's among many reasons, but a major reason why people don't think anymore is because we've gotten used to being arbitrary, offering mere opinions, and then when there's a clash between the mere opinions, running to relativism. Because isn't that a lot more comfortable? If you're a relativist, then you can go to cocktail parties and everybody's welcome. I've done this. I go to parties when I was at SC in the graduate school and so forth. Jesus would be welcome at their cocktail parties. As long as Jesus didn't say he was the only truth, that'd be fine. Then we have Buddha, and we have Jesus, and we have Confucius, and we have Mao, and all the rest, and everybody's just having a good time. If we respect each other, then we don't have to worry about people getting down on us. I'm welcome, you're welcome. Hey, I'm okay, you're okay. It's relativism. And it's academically shoddy. People who contradict each other cannot both be right. In some cases, depending on the nature of the contradiction, both can be wrong, but both cannot be right. I cannot have diabetes and it not be the case that I have diabetes at the same time.